Welcome in. It is day 185, and you're speaking to the Meeples Champion. And today we're going to be jumping into an old classic. This is actually my wife's, I would say when we met, favorite game. I've introduced her to so many more games. She's really gotten into a lot of the games that I'm into now. We've definitely found our group of 5 or 10 big games like those that she loves. But this was one that when we first met, she just really liked it. It wasn't one for me necessarily, but can't can't get mad at somebody for liking their own games. The game is Jenga. Jenga was actually a theme at our wedding. When we got there, we pulled out a Jenga game. It's sitting upstairs in our attic, put away, and every piece was out there for people to sign, write messages on. So all the guests had a Jenga piece, and we have a wedding Jenga game. It's pretty cool. We've played different versions of Jenga through the years. I'm not one for those, flicking games or, requirement that you have to have a physical need for a game. But I understand the fun of a Jenga night. I understand it's a little bit less about competitive and it's a little bit more about just having laughs at your friends. And I think that Jengas have held on for many years, and despite all the advancements in gaming, it's a game that still holds a good footing with certain areas of gamers. That being said, there's not a lot to go into on this game. We all know how it plays, so why don't we just jump in, do our 7 categories, and see where this one lands. When it comes to the art, obviously the game itself is just little wooden pieces. That's it. There's no art there. When it comes to the box, I don't find this box to be that alluring. The game is grabbing you because of its name. It's not grabbing you because it's a new game coming out today that gets your interest. So it's got to be thumbs down. When it comes to those components, I mean, all it is wooden pieces. That's it. And they're good wooden pieces. They don't splinter. It's not like they're easily breaking. They don't fall off the top, hit the floor, and all of a sudden you're like, oh no, game's ruined. They're perfectly fine. Thumbs up. Your price. I mean, you can get lots of different Jenga games. This is just an example of one to get. This is primarily the basic size you're going to be looking at. You're probably looking at like 20, maybe 30 for this. It's not that expensive, but you can find this anywhere. Jenga games can be found outside of your normal board game store area or even your Barnes & Noble and your Targets. You can find these at lots of stores. If there's a toy section and they have a couple board games, the odds of them being a Jenga game is reasonable. And you can find these in small versions, regular versions, large, enormous. There's so many different sizes of it. So it's really just up to what you're looking for, what kind of game you're interested in getting. But price-wise, it's available, and you're going to be able to find it at your size and at your price. So thumbs up. Difficulty. So the difficulty only kicks in where I would say if you're dealing with like little kids, 10 years old, I think can play this, but be aware of which one you're playing. If you're trying to play a competitive matchup, you probably don't want to have a 10-year-old who's just going to be knocking the thing over constantly. That being said, I think most 10-year-olds are pretty good and they're not going to do that. But I think for a regular sized Jenga game, that may be more aimed towards your adults and as far as if you're new, beginner, experienced or expert, that doesn't matter to me. This isn't a game that judges on this. This is for a social, fun, laughing night. So I'm not judging those in that area. But when it comes to your kids, you may want a bigger one because the bigger game might be a little bit more grabbing to them. Those backyard, large blocked Jengas, I think are really fun for kids. That overall saying, though, I think difficulty is thumbs up. Replayability. So again, replayability is a little different in this category because we're not judging it based on the replayability of, okay, can you play this every week, every month, season, whatever that may be. That's not how these work. Jengas are usually being aimed around a Jenga night being part of a party night. So it's really, is this a game you'd pull up for multiple party nights? And I think Jenga is always on the table for a party night. It's definitely one of those games that's on a shelf of consideration. And the bigger one I was talking about is for your summer parties of barbecues. So it gets a little bit more played when you're having a good dozen people over in your backyard. So I think that they're definitely there for replayability. It's going to be a thumbs up. Keys to victory? Well, I mean, there's only really the one. Just don't knock over the tower. You're pushing out on the bottom. Now, people might change up the rules here a little bit. I've always done it as long as there's 3 blocks in a row, then you can go and you can push from it. Meaning, when you're getting to that top, the odds are people aren't going 1, 2, 3. They're trying to cause their opponents to fall. So they're getting 1, they're getting 2. Now they're trying to balance on top of those, and they're ignoring that one. And once you have 2 and you've covered it with 1, I don't consider that spot here to be eligible to be placed in anymore. That's how I play it, but different people, different rules. That being said, when it comes to the keys to victory, it's just basically how can you make sure you don't knock it over, and how can you place to make the next person or persons have a hard time for it to get back to you. I think that it is what it's supposed to be. It's not like you don't have options. It's just it's a difficult game. It's a dexterity game at the end of the day. So thumbs up. Unique. Is the game unique? It's weird to think of stacking blocks and is the game unique? Now, I would have thought this would be an easy unique because nobody really does this style game anymore. But the difference is that these games are now being made more for kids. My daughter has a board game that's essentially a little rounded circle. It comes with pairs of different animals from like a circus, and she's trying to place them on and stack them up. Now, yes, this isn't already stacked. You're pulling it out, you're placing it up, but the basic concept of this is there. They are wooden pieces that you are trying to stack, and you're trying not to knock them over. It's a kid's game, and it's not like you have dozens of pieces. You only have like a dozen pieces, but it's the same concept, and there's multiple things like this out there now. So even though they're a little bit more for kids, they're in this category, and they definitely are something that can compare to this. So I have to say, thumbs down on Unique. Overall, what do I think? I think that this is not a game for me, and I think for the average gamer that comes to my channel, you know that this channel is more intended for the we want to sit down and have a real board game night, meaning this game doesn't really fit that. This isn't a board game night game. So I wouldn't recommend to most of my viewers to go off and buy this game. That being said, if you are somebody who you're trying to either be included in or include others in a party night where you're trying to do a lot more intro stuff, this is a great one to have as at least in your back pocket as an option, so that when people come over, you have a game that you know they'll all enjoy, and that it doesn't require them to read rule books. It's not sitting there trying to figure out how it all runs through. You can just pull it out and be like, all right, this is my emergency game. I'm going to try to teach you Catan tonight. But if everybody after 10 minutes looks lost and nobody really looks interested, I can throw it to the side, pull out Jenga, and we have a game to play. That's where I think most of my viewers would have it. So don't don't go off running to buy it, but don't ignore it either. It's something that you just have to judge your situation on. Well, it has been day 185, and we've been speaking about the game Jenga. And you've been speaking to the Meeples Champion. Like, share, subscribe, and check down below in the description where I'll be adding an Amazon link in case you want to get this game for your collection. Until next time, I'll talk to you tomorrow.